Today's video is going to be how I edit. So if you guys follow me on Instagram, it's at I'm a Topp with 2 A's. I edit my pictures in kind of like a colorful, funky, scrapbooky sometimes almost kind of way. I will be screen recording on my iPad today because it's larger and I can kind of show you guys easier like what I do, but I didn't get this iPad until like 2 months ago. All of these edits that I have been doing are possible on just an iPhone. It just takes a lot to learn. Tea from my mom. This is also the most boring iPad, like the basic one, like not tricked out at all. Like, some of these iPads are stupid dummy price. Like I'm not gonna, once again, buy an iPad with like a good camera. For what? So I basically go about a triangle themed editing in terms of steps. So for the first step of editing, for what I do is fix the image. The apps that I use are Facetune, Retouch. I think that's pretty much it. So the app Retouch is right here. This is really good for if there's people in the back of your travel photos, or if there's a telephone pole in a photo you took, or like power lines, or like a random bird in a sky photo, like little tiny things that you don't want there to be anymore that are way easier to just remove over trying to patch or cover up. So Retouch does it like that. It's not perfect 100% of the time, pulls other spots from the picture to cover that up, so either it matches really seamlessly. 60% of the time it doesn't work at all. When I took a picture in front of the Eiffel Tower, I used this to kind of get rid of the people in the background. It worked for a few of them, but if you do too much, it starts stacking and looks really weird. Other primary app I use for photo fixing is Facetune. Facetune is great when it comes to, like I said, like if I have really uneven self-tan on my body, I can smooth that over, or if the floor isn't white enough or the background, I will take the teeth whitening tool and then go in and whiten all of that. If I have stray hairs, I will also smooth them, and you can also go in and detail parts of your body like your eyelashes, your eyeliner, your eyes if you want to, so it's really specific with helping with that. Once I'm happy with the photo and I got rid of all like random people, smudges on the wall, maybe I had something in my teeth but now it's gone, then I'll move on to the second step, which is color correction, which is what I use for filters. So filters primarily I use VSCO. I've been a VSCO girl. I mean, not really, but like I've been a lover of VSCO for many years. My favorites as of right now are AU5 and C6. I've been using C6 for years. Sometimes it can be oversaturated, but I really like the way it makes my tan look, eyes look, hair look. If your hair is like dyed blonde, it makes it really bright. It's great. AU5 is kind of a new favorite. It honestly, if you use it in its fullness, it's way too much oversaturated and really ugly, but using a little bit of it is totally fine. I also go in and mess with the brightness, contrast, saturation, sharpness, depending on the photo. Sometimes I'll throw grain on there, drop the highlights a little bit. It really depends on the photo. If I do black and white, I use B1, and those are pretty much all my filters. If I also want to make it look more blogger-esque, sometimes I'll put a little bit of the Tezza app over it. The Tezza app is from Tezza herself. She released presets. It is payment to get the full ones, but like I said, if you're really into photo editing, like it is worth it. I use all these presets on my story posts because it makes them look really clean really fast without having to go in and manipulate the photo colors myself. On the Tezza app, I like Vintage sometimes, Vintage 1 and Vintage 2. Flower makes you look really tan, but it can be really over orangey way hair type vibes. I used to like Yum a lot, and I like Lilo a lot. And those are the ones that I use, but not all the time, only occasionally. But once we get past the color correction stage of that, then we get onto like the funky fun editing. For this, I use the 4 P's. These are my like master rules. Picsart, Picmonkey, Prequel, and Procreate. These are your ride or dies, your 4 P's for life. This is all that I've used for the past like 5 years to edit my photos. Picmonkey, which is like basic shapes, little designs you can put over it. I use that for my thumbnails when it comes to adding text and stuff. It's really easy and really fun. It's better on a desktop for that, but it's also doable through a phone, just not as advanced. Picmonkey used to be the app that I would draw all my lines on, and I would like go in and painstakingly edit what they look like and make sure they were smooth and stuff. And they still have great options for that, but I've kind of evolved past that into moving more towards Procreate, which is what I'm a fan of now. The other app that's going to be your holy grail is Picsart. I thought it was just for little stickers. Recently I figured out how to like isolate parts of the picture and change it. They have really good filters. They just have a lot of cool stuff. I'm Picsart Gold. You don't have to be Picsart Gold because half the app is free, but the other half is premium. So for Picsart is where I get all of my stickers a lot of the times. If you go to the stickers and underneath their graphics, they have a lot of options. You can search literally anything. A lot of times if I have no idea what I want to edit, I'll search the word VSCO in Picsart, and it'll come up with a lot of like super like cheetah prints, stars, flowers, like random stuff. A lot of it's really ugly, but if you search for it, you can find some really cool stuff. And honestly, I will scroll on that for hours until I find something that I actually like. Sometimes it's a dud. There's a lot of weird stuff on there, but it is possible to find cool stuff. Also, use Picsart for filters. I like a lot of their filters actually. Picsart is what you use for the motion tool to make it look like there's multiple of you. So Picsart is really just honestly the biggest app that I can recommend, and it does take pretty meticulous time to make it perfect, but in my opinion, it looks worth it at the end. Another app that I recommend is Procreate. This is the app that I draw everything on. It's the app that I now do my animations on for YouTube. It's the app that I do all my little story things and like mini videos on Instagram. It's the app that I draw all my lines on now. I used to use Picmonkey, but honestly Procreate is such an upgrade. You can turn the photo 360 and like go in and fix things and like add layers, and like it's so cool. And then also there's Prequel, which is like not presets, but it's pre-edits that you can use, like rainbows, magazine stuff. I used to use that initially to add bling to my photos when that was a really big trend, like the Euphoria edits. That's all on Prequel. Once again, costs monthly money, but is super dope. So those are my pyramid of editing things. Also for stories, I use the app Unfold, also an in-feed. A lot of you guys were asking how I got these pictures where I have like a picture within a picture. A lot of times like my background really colorful to match my feed, and the selfie itself isn't exciting enough, or like the picture needs something more. I'll use Unfold. I also once again paid for different formats, but there are free ones also available that are really good, and I use this for all my story stuff. There's tons of different options to pick from. And that I use all the time is DW, and it's this one right here where I can put a picture and then I can put a different image in the background like this one. Now I'm gonna go into editing different pictures that were requested like one-on-one to do like step-by-step tutorials for them, but those are the basics. I know it was a lot, and if I need to do a part 2 to this or something, let me know which ones are extra requested, but here are some specific edits for the images on my Instagram. Okay, so now we're gonna be specifically editing the motion picture, which is this one right here. Fun fact, I actually learned this editing trick off of Picsart's Instagram. I saw an ad for them. It literally showed me a quick like 10-second tutorial. This is how he edited like this. And so I was like, damn, that looks so cool. I did that instead. Wait, I think that someone dropped off a chicken bake for me. Okay, so it was not a chicken bake. Okay, so for this edit, you're gonna go and open your picture in Picsart, and then you're gonna take the Tools app and you're gonna hit Motion. And what you have to do is, it's kind of tedious, so you're gonna have to outline the entire thing that you want. A little corner pops up with making it more detailed. If you're on your phone, it's easier to see. This is honestly pretty easy on the iPad because, like I said, a big image, it's easy to see. And in order for this to work, you have to make your shape a closed one, outlining all of my body all the way down until I hit the end right there. So now I hit this and it says drag in any direction. So I'm gonna drag this way and make sure I follow the line of my desk like that. And now you can change how many of you there are till it looks like super smoothed out and like it's moving really fast. Or you can make sure there's like 2 of you or 3 of you. And you can also change the opacity so it looks like you're fading away. Once again, this edit looks a lot more fancy than it actually is. I'm turning my opacity all the way up, but I'm gonna turn my count to that many, I'd say. Once again, once you apply this, you can't go back and edit it, so I sometimes do this a few different times to make sure I get the amount that I want, and then I hit apply. So something I would do to fix this image if I wasn't happy with it, if you can kind of see in the bottom left corner, you can kind of see it's kind of awkward and cut off, so I'd either go back and redo this a few times, or what I like to do a lot is I'll open Picmonkey, go to the graphics button, and I will take a plain square, and I will make sure to pick the color from the desk, which is white-ish, and then I will move this so that it looks like it's the desk, but it cuts it off more smoother, I guess. Once again, you don't have to do this. I just think it looks a little bit more clean in the image, but that's how you take this to that. So another thing I recently learned how to do on Picsart, which I just implemented for the first time ever on my Instagram, is how to isolate parts of the image to make certain parts more saturated, more different colors than others. So I figured this out when I was posting my sunset photo. So if you go into Picsart, we're gonna open this picture that I took in the ocean. Super cute. She's pretty, she looks great. The sunset's really cool, but I kind of wanted the sunset to be more pink to match my feed when I posted it. Once again, not necessary if you're just like a photo editing geek like I am, like it's something little that it makes us happy, so you don't have to be doing this, but if you want to. So for this, I will hit Tools and then I will hit Adjust. The easiest way that I can explain this is I will turn the brightness all the way up, and then I will erase the parts that I don't want to be affected by the portion that we're choosing. The brightness makes it just easier to see what we're erasing. You could choose contrast, anything else, but all we want to do is isolate the area that is the sky. So anything we do in the future will only affect that portion. Once again, it's better when the hardness, actually for this, I like when the hardness is less because it's a softer effect when you're erasing in terms of a sunset. But when it comes to a body of a person, I will make that hard so it's a line that you can definitely see is defined. The problem with this is that if you are too careless when erasing, it can be really obvious because the color change will affect your person's skin tone, or there'll be like one edge that's off and it'll be really easy to tell that you went in, super edited the background or changed the color of something. So if you change the color of something, you want to make sure that it's really on point with your outlines so it's nearly impossible to tell that it was different than before. With the photo that I just posted on my Instagram, I changed the door color from yellow to pink to match my feed better, and I did that on my iPhone, so it took longer once again to go in and make it perfect. The iPad makes it a little bit easier, but a lot of times I am super impatient with editing. Once you hit OK and you have this spot isolated by itself, you can kind of see how I'm just selecting the sky and a little bit of the water. Once again, not perfect. If I was actually posting it, I'd take more time. So I'm going to turn the brightness down to 0 because we're not really trying to mess with the brightness in this picture. You can turn it down if you want like a little bit. And I bumped the saturation pretty much all the way up. So once again, only the sky is now affected by that instead of the entire picture, because a lot of times if you bump the saturation too much, it turns your person orange. For instance, this picnic photo, I went in and made sure the trees were a different tone and the water was a different tone. So all together it looked like this before, but then this afterwards looks like a fully better image, if you know what I'm saying. So after I changed saturation, the biggest thing here is I also went to highlights and turned highlights down, which makes the clouds more defined. If you turn it from here to here, you can see that they're a little bit more identifiable. The biggest thing here is that you want to go to hue, and you can change the hue from any color that you want. So obviously right now the sky is rainbow. So for me, I took it a little bit to the left to make it a little bit more pink like that, where you can see here that if you don't make your images exactly precise, it will screw up because it'll either make your person kind of pink or it will turn the water a little pink when it comes to like right there. So you really want to make sure that everything's good with the horizon line so it doesn't look too fake. And you can change the temperature of it to make it warmer or cooler toned, really anything that you want. And by learning how to do this, you can change essentially the color of anything in any photo without having to draw over it or change what it actually looks like, which is really cool. That is how I changed the color of the sunset in this, and also the color of anything else. Okay, so someone asked me to do a tutorial on this picture right here, which is me and Amanda in New York. This one is super easy. Half of it's on Procreate, half of it's on Picmonkey. So I'm just gonna show you off of the image that I already did, but I basically had this picture and I chose colors that I thought would look good, and I literally just freehanded it. So in Procreate, my two favorites are underneath the inking section, and I like using either the studio pen or the dry ink. If I'm looking for like a handwritten kind of notebooky feel, I'll use the dry ink one. But if I'm drawing or doing lines, I want it to look smooth, I'll use the studio pen. So I use the studio pen and I literally just hold down to pick the color that I want, and I would just draw out the line that I thought looked good. Anyways, it's always important to make sure you do it on an extra layer. That way you can go in and erase the layer itself, because if you don't, you'll end up erasing the entire image and it'll just turn white, which is what we don't want at all. But basically, I did all those lines entirely in Procreate, and then when I was done with this image, I opened it up in Picmonkey. And basically what it is, I went to my graphics because they have a lot of good basic plain shapes, and I took the star, which you'll see in the corners here, and I used the picker tool at the very end of the color to make sure it was the exact same color tones and kind of arranged stars in the corners. And then I went in and added dots through Procreate back then and kind of went back and forth. And I also then went in Facetune and used tones to give my leg and my foot a little bit of a shadow to make it look super 3D. This is all freehand drawing pretty much, which took a long time. I drew this when I was watching Twilight, kind of like absent-mindedly, just like doing my own thing. Okay, so another edit we're going to be doing is the one from my scene video, which is right here, which is like very 2000s-y. So I have this image in my photos already. I already pre-edited it with VSCO. I used C6. I kind of whitened the background. You know, it's basic, it's plain. So now what we're going to do is we're going to open this in Prequel, which is one of my favorite apps to add. Once again, like super easy editing things. Like literally when I'm out of all ideas and the background is plain, I like to throw it in Prequel to see like what I can come up with. If I'm not feeling creative, it kind of does the work for you. With Prequel, you want to make sure that you size your image accordingly. So now we're going to go to effects, and for this one I used the effect Prism. So it gives you kind of like a rainbow 3D effect. So in my exact image, I used number 2, and make sure to turn down the filter if I just want the rainbow instead of like the full-on saturation, but I kind of like a little bit of saturation. We'll leave it like that. So another trick that I actually use a lot that I don't really talk about is I honestly use the Instagram editing tool to add tones a lot. This is really bad, but I have an entire Instagram account that's private that I post on before to see if the picture matches the feed, so I can kind of plan it out so it looks aesthetically pleasing. I know there's an app you can do this with, like it's called or something, but I've had the account forever at this point, like it's whatever. But I go through this and I go to color and I choose highlights, and if I want to make the entire image kind of pink, I'll use the pink highlight. If you do too much, it kind of kills the contrast, but a little bit looks really good. I think VSCO also has this option, but I like to add a little bit of pink like that, and then I literally would just post it. And so that's how that edit looks. So now I'm gonna go through literally my entire Instagram and talk through each little photo, so I don't have to do like a mini tutorial for each of them because they're pretty simple now that you know like the basic steps that I do. So this photo is done entirely in Procreate. I used the sketchy pen that I talked about a second ago. I used the dry ink pen and I make it look super sketchy like that, and I freehanded it, and then I downloaded off of Google crinkled paper, and then I made sure to I put that over the image, the opacity down so I could kind of see what I was erasing, and erased everything except for the letters to make it really easy. Also, when posting this photo, I made it a little bit pink because the background was kind of too wet and I wanted, once again, some more pink in my feed. This picture right here I used entirely with Picsart and VSCO. Like I said, I went in and changed the color of the door. If you really were to tell in between my fingers, you can kind of see that it used to be yellow, but honestly, for using my finger, I went really into depth with this, and the door looks great. I also used Picsart to choose the flowers on the bottom like that, once again making it kind of see-through, going in and erasing, and then making it back to normal. I changed the hue of the sticker and I searched VSCO flowers. This one, like I said, I used VSCO, and then I isolated the sunset with Picsart and made it a little bit more saturated and changed the color a little bit to match it. So for the cottage core picture, I used Picsart and I isolated each certain part, like the ground behind me, the river, and the trees. I all isolated separately and changed the color to kind of make it look like a really high quality image. This one was no edit, but I used Unfold to do the kind of picture-in-picture with the JPEG thing. These images were edited in VSCO with like C6, and then I went with Picsart and used the flowers like that to go underneath. This was also done entirely in Procreate. I fixed the colors on myself in VSCO, and then I put it into Procreate and went in and erased around me perfectly, and then just threw in the background. So I get a lot of questions about this photo right here, which is my first installment of my internet journal. All I use is Procreate, and I said I use that little pen. I use the dry ink pen, and I just write on my pictures my thought process when I took these photos, or my journal at the time I took these photos, and kind of talked about my mindset through the trip and like random stuff we were doing that was really fun. Almost like this is literally the entry for my journal. I think it's fun. I will be doing more of these because I like them a lot. This picture right here was color corrected using VSCO, and then I used a Prequel effect on it. I think it's like the plastic wrap one, and then the blue circle here is actually an outline from Picmonkey because they come with really good plain shapes already at Picmonkey that I just put that in, erased so it was like kind of 3D effect where it's on top of me in some parts but it's behind me in other parts, and then I put the Prequel wrap effect on top of it so it all looked very packaged and professional. I love these. I took them on a self-timer in my bathroom. This one also is entirely on Procreate. I hand drew all of these animations or these little doodles. A trick for this is you can put in an image and then make another layer on top and trace it and then delete the image underneath so it looks like you drew it but you actually trace something. I did that for the flames as they were way too specific for me to freehand. This one I just erased the background on Procreate and put in the lollipop wrapper. You could also probably do this on Picsart, but sometimes Picsart is kind of glitchy and will kick out, which is really frustrating, but it happens to everybody, I think. This was also entirely freehanded on Procreate. I got a lot of questions about this. I just drew in the things and erased things, kind of just did what I wanted, and then I also added a little bit of pink in the highlights on Instagram, I think. This was also completely hand-drawn on Procreate. This one, I drew this on Procreate, but then added the little stickers in from Picsart afterwards and made sure to go and edit to make it unique to the image by saying this is Ultimate because it was sponsored by EF Ultimate Break. Also, the receipts are really cool. If I had actual talent. My next step is for my journal entry series is going to be trying to scan in receipts from the trips, ticket stubs, little tidbits like that I put my wall in here onto a scanner and then get them in photo form so I can edit my physical things onto pictures and make them look more realistic, but I haven't tried that yet because we haven't really gone outside or done anything that warrants a scrapbook picture in the past couple months. So for the Louis Vuitton print, in case anybody wanted to know, this actually took a very long time. I found a Louis Vuitton pattern overlay on Google by searching like Louis Vuitton PNG, Louis Vuitton transparent background, and I went in on a transparent background in Procreate, could be Picmonkey too or anything else, and I erased the Louis Vuitton logo and used text to put in VT, and then I opened it in Procreate and made it into one layer and then duplicated it so I had the two colors. It's possible to do manually, but it did take me a lot of time and it was really frustrating because I actually had to individually carve out each little shape, which was hard, but the post is cool. That was a lot. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got some inspo from how I edit my pics. I hope that I was decent enough in explaining what I do. I know it's like a lot of information, like a lot of stuff, but that's genuinely like what I do, my thought process per photo. If I end up editing differently, I usually announce it on my Instagram and I either answer all my TikTok comments or my Instagram comments about what I use to edit. So the day that I actually learn how to use like Photoshop and all that jazz, like is maybe the day this is going to change, but for now, this is what works for me. I'm big on finessing what's easy to use to make it look a lot more high-end. So I edit my movies in iMovie still, and I'm barely learning Final Cut. I only know Final Cut for like Instagram videos. Drop a comment, drop a like, subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I'll be happy to answer them. DM me on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. As you can tell, a lot of work, a lot of effort. I'm so happy I finally got to film this freaking video, and I'm even happier that I'm done filming it. So I have fun stuff coming soon. I love you all. Happy editing. Send me your edits. If you tag me in like your edits in your story post, anything, I literally will comment, like it, hype you up, put it on my story. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you also know that I tried to put Lisa Frank stickers on my nails, and I forgot that the stickers are literally paper, and they came off in the shower. Also, apparently Lisa Frank is canceled. Like, cannot keep up. They were good for like one day. Okay? Okay.